everyone. I am Mandi of Ecstatic Astrology. We are here with Sonia, and Sonia's astrology business is called Celestia Astrology, correct?
Me.
All right. And we're Ask Astrology, Asteria Sophia Kairos. I'm so excited to do this. This is technically my first time joining a monthly update. So this is really awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, it was great because you joined us in December, but we did everybody, all the ladies joined, didn't we?
Yeah. And I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, we're so grateful to have you too.
So yeah, we're doing the 5th through the 12th of February. And it is a really, I think it's a fun week. There's a lot of fun things happening this week. So I'm ready to dig into it. All right. So these are the dates for this week. We have the 9th, the Sun and Mercury conjunction, aka Cazimi, which means in the heart of the Sun at 20 degrees, 59 minutes of Aquarius. That same day, Mars is trine Saturn as well. I'll just make a little note of that. We'll talk about that. The 12th is the full moon in Leo, and that is something that is on my radar for sure because it is square Uranus. So that's going to be an important date this month, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, the 7th, we do have the Neptune conjunction to the true node at 28 Pisces. And yeah, the 9th is the Kazemi. I like that you have the hearts over the eyes because that's how I feel about a Kazemi as well. Full moon in Leo, 24 degrees, square to Uranus.
Yeah, going to be an interesting one. We're looking at, I've put in both the true node and the mean node conjunction with Neptune because we were light on aspects this month. So normally we would just probably look at one, but we have added both of those in. So we might be repeating ourselves in terms of what they actually mean when we come to the end of the month and Neptune meets the mean node. But it shows what the difference is. And it's worth, like when people don't know whether they want to use the mean or the true node, it's worth kind of tracking. Do you feel it on the 7th or do you feel it later in the month? On the 23rd is when it means mean node. So it's a new contact of the outers with the nodes since they've moved and bringing in this new eclipse cycle.
And here it is, Neptune conjoined to the true north node. And I think, with Venus having recently done that, this is something that will likely, I think it's a chunk of time at the beginning of February, this will feel active. The North Node, I question whether or not it's something that is consciously there. There are some aspects I know I can feel almost in my body, but the North Node, I'm not sure always is present until eclipse time, but it does help to track it because if you're not feeling this or whatever, you can actually look at what goes on that day, and know that there is something to February 7th. And also the moon is with Jupiter that day, and Jupiter rules Pisces. So I kind of think that that's significant to have Jupiter freshly direct, the moon saying, hey, pay attention over here. And that might be a good place to look whenever this day comes around, as well as the next couple of days later, whenever Mercury and the Sun join together, because Mercury rules Jupiter. So all three of these things are just working together to me. But yeah, 28 degrees, 9 minutes, very, very end of Pisces. Luckily not the anaretic degree. I'm kind of thankful for that. But I think it draws us into the themes of the eclipse for sure. So mutable signs, pay attention, Gemini risings, Virgo risings, Sag risings, and Pisces rising.
Yeah, Neptune's cycle is 165 years. And it's funny being Neptune, it's always the one that I forget that I have to go and look up and write down. I know Pluto's cycle, I know Uranus's, but Neptune's one is always just that little bit elusive, which is Neptune.
Yeah.
So I have to go and check it, and it's approximately 14 years in a sign. So as it's coming to this end, it's been like a 14-year journey for us. And then the nodes are like 18 years, aren't they, to return to a point. So they moved in Pisces, but much earlier. When Neptune was earlier in the cycle. So again, we can look to that time, maybe 18 years ago or 9 years ago when there was the reverse. And that might give us some clues as to themes as well to expect.
Yeah. Neptune ingressed Pisces in 2011. So that makes sense. And I wonder if I can figure out when the North Node was in Pisces after that. I don't know that
they met.
It may not have met. At least the North Node may not have met Neptune in Pisces, but the South Node may have.
Yeah. Yes, that would have been
In 2015. Yeah.
9 years ago.
Yep. It would have been
Yes.
something like that. And so, I mean, yeah, sometime around 2015, 2016, it will be good to look at for this.
In terms of the themes, but of course we can't help thinking about the eclipses because as the North Node starts getting activated, we see how much closer the sun's getting. And it's when the sun gets close to these nodes that we get into eclipse season. So we start talking about it and start remembering all our eclipse notes and but just enjoy this time before we get there.
Yeah, and the exact date the South Node hit Neptune was November 17th, 2016, and at 9 degrees of Pisces.
Oh, really?
Which is where the new moon in Pisces will be, but anyway.
Feels significant, doesn't it? I like finding connections when, Ray went to a talk yesterday on the speaker series and he was showing like there's the fractal that we often talk about, the spiral with astrology, but he was also saying like, especially with Jupiter and Gemini, what if it's like this network of connections and it's zigzagging around and not everything's activated all at the same time, but particular groups or clusters are activated. So this is what it feels like, this Pisces Aries cluster is being activated.
Yep. And I guess that's a good, I think late 2016, 2017 is a good analog for this time period. I will say that.
Because each of us have like our own connections in the chart of like if Pisces is activated, then it might be squaring something or trying something in your own chart. So it will have those connections and it won't like repeat exactly, but it will rhyme in terms of the themes that come up. The previous conjunction was 4th of May 2000. The previous conjunction was the 4th of May in Aquarius. So yeah, they didn't meet. And the next conjunction would be 2041 in Taurus. So it's a really long time scale for them to meet. With Neptune traveling so slowly and the nodes moving backwards, it's like this really hard like movement to visualize and track. It just feels strange that they wouldn't meet in Pisces, but it's like really that Pisces house view just maybe reflect on what changed there in those dates and where you want to go forward and maybe like with Neptune, because you can get that illusory, foggy, dissolving otherworldliness, and it's how we respond to that. Can you lean into it and sit with it and allow it and just go through that process with Neptune? Or do you fight against it? And sometimes people can lean into addictive behaviors to escape from it because they find it just too hard to sit with. And it's, I suppose, if you've got grounding practices and other ways, rather than escaping into alcohol or drugs or other methods, it's like, how do we cope with it that matters? And I suppose it's how you experience Neptune as well as to whether you welcome that spiritual side and that confusion and that fog that he brings, and the fog will clear. It's sort of like seeing auras, but while you're in it, it's hard to know. But that's the gift of astrology is we get dates,
right?
Things will pass, but with the North Node, it brings this sort of fated karmic kind of quality to what's coming through. And I think we spoke before about the potential for increase when they were together with Venus. I mean, they still are quite tight. But Venus is moving away from it now. And obviously in the next sign, she's crossed that boundary. You've got Saturn moving closer. And it just...
Emphasis.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Just...
Lots of emphasis.
Yeah, and it is that very much, is it for good or bad? And if you're feeling it going in a bad direction, you can pull that back by leaning into those grounding. And when we say grounding, people can use different ways. I mean, you hear that phrase, touch grass. It actually makes sense. Like literally go out and touch some grass and just see what it feels to be connected with the earth. I mean, that is literally grounding, and just breathe and be connected with the earth, or go out and look at the sun or the moon and the planets. And again, that's just grounding us. Where are we in the universe traveling on this earth? But there's many other methods that you can look up and just find what appeals to you, what works for you. Is a really good way to work. So you can sit in that Neptune quality, but still know who you are. Don't lose yourself in it. Be aware of your body and your place in time and space. It really feels like that's helping. Was there anything you wanted to add, Mandi?
No, I love all that.
And then we have the Sun conjunct Mercury.
Yay! I love these. I love Cazimis. They An audience with the king is what I've heard it referred to as. I love that.
Yeah,
it just
it's that same room, that exalted private audience, isn't it? Because of course, before and after it, Mercury's combust, so Mercury's sort of under those beams and a little bit. Well, it is burnt up and harmed, but it gets into that throne room and suddenly everything's okay, and it's like that new meeting, isn't it, where you gathers all that information. And of course, the sun's in exile, they're present with Pluto, so it just feels a bit more intense, maybe, with the sun coming.
Yeah.
The sun was conjunct Pluto, but it's got information from Pluto, a new cycle with Pluto where it's been down into the underworld and been empowered from that. Mercury's had that meeting with Pluto as well, and now they meet up and say, right, what are we going to do about what we've learned?
It seems very intense to me too, because of the fact that Mars is trying Saturn that day, and Saturn's ruling this Cazimi. I like that you said that, because there is an intensity to this day, and Aquarius in general seems to be serious. There's not, you do have your quirkiness associated with Aquarius, but there is also a seriousness associated with innovation and change and revolution. And so with that Kazemi having Saturn as a ruler trine in a flowing aspect with Mars, working together to maybe, especially with Mars retrograde, because it's kind of going to sit trine to Saturn for a bit as it stations direct. There is this need to enact real change that sticks around, I think. So that's kind of how I've been tuning into this Cazimi, as well as the square. It's only 3 degrees away, maybe actually even a little less than the square to Uranus. Yeah. So the coming full moon, I think this is almost like, the word harbinger kind of sounds like doom and gloomy, but it is a little bit of a harbinger for the full moon in Leo, I think.
Yeah. And we see like the Leo full moon that's coming is like the royal sign that's representative of power being centered in one individual or place. And then Aquarius is all about the collective and the people and how it's going to work. So seeing that meeting happening opposite there and then a moon happening there is just interesting, how this is all playing out, and watching how it's going to actually transpire on at the time, isn't it? What's happening?
Right.
I really like that trine with the moon there. The moon is at home in Cancer, so it's boosting Mars, just giving some nurturing support where Mars was struggling, maybe just giving it a little parade.
Yeah, a little comfort.
Yeah, you've got this. You can do this. You're nearly there. You've worked hard through this retrograde.
That's right. And the inconjunct there, the quincunx between the Cazimi and Mars, it's almost as if there is, I think, it is Rick Levine. I've mentioned Rick Levine a few times, how he would talk about an inconjunct or a quincunx feeling like a mosquito buzzing around. Like it's a little bit something that you notice that almost doesn't need attention until it gets too annoying.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I think speaks to the trine to Saturn as well. It's like we're encouraged to pay attention, even though Aquarius and Cancer don't always fit together. There is something here that they need to fit together in some way.
Yeah, because you've got water and air, and sort of water is usually connected more with earth, sort of on the earthly plane, and the air is sort of up there and usually linked more with fire that they connect with in elemental terms, which is why they've got that in conjunct aspect. Yeah, I like that. I like that mosquito. I hadn't heard that before.
I like it too.
Yeah, because it's something you can't quite reach, isn't it? There's no line of sight there. The sun can't see Mars and the moon, the luminaries can't see each other. So that they're not communicating easily, or their objectives are different.
They just don't understand each other. I mean, different modes, different elements. You have cardinal water and fixed air. It's how does a balloon look at a river? It's kind of like that. So, and that, translates to, I mean, like, for instance, I'm a Cancer rising, and Aquarius is my 8th house, which is shared resources and investments, contracts, and how does my identity work with that? But they do, there are these things that matter to each other, even if they don't on the surface always seem like they click together. And I think the trine of Saturn and Pisces to Mars and Cancer may help to kind of blend the two, because Saturn's ruling the Cazimi.
Yeah. bring the watery element in of the imagination and the intuition and the emotions that water offers us, that container for memories as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gary Caton writes a lot about Mercury, so checking out the phases and everything. So this is the superior conjunction as well, which is usually a bit more powerful. And Mercury is in the east, its waning phase is about to begin. So it's about releasing. And once it ingresses into Pisces, we'll see its first evening rise. So it's not visible in the sky at the moment. The first day of visibility is February the 20th. So we've got a little while, too long. But we will see it as it moves away from the sun. While it's so close to the sun, you just can't see it. It's burnt up by the rays. It's kind of hidden in that sense. And this takes Mercury into its philosopher phase. At the moment, it's in a guardian phase before it reaches this Cazimi. And then as it leaves the sun, it's going to be in a philosopher phase. So that's quite nice for Aquarius. I feel like that ability to see the big picture is kind of a philosophy thing, isn't it? You're not looking at the granular detail maybe, but more into that big picture of, well, what does this all mean?
Yeah, Aquarius, the bird's eye view.
Yeah, Mercury ruling Jupiter as well, with that Jupiter direct and the communication. And maybe that's going to bring some ways that we're going to use this philosophy to expand and build our knowledge and maybe create some structures with Mars and Saturn there wanting to get busy on something. You know, maybe although Mars can't see Jupiter, but Jupiter and Saturn, they're not in a tight aspect. But as Jupiter starts to go direct, that will start moving into that square. Yeah, Jupiter will start moving into that square with Saturn. And maybe they'll start getting ready to like build something with a way to contain the information and bring it into form and material ways that are useful. I noticed also that sextile Chiron, that wounded healer, connecting us with our pain and our wound, something that's looking for healing.
Yeah. Mars has spent a few days before this squaring Chiron. So, that could be a sore spot, in between, I guess, this is the first date. So I guess in between the first and this moment, there may be some wounding we have to confront, especially with it being Mars squaring Chiron, because Chiron is ruled by Mars right now. And so having this tension between the warrior and the wounding in the warrior's home sign, it's almost as if the warrior has to take a look at its inner child before being able to go back out into battle. So that to me is, accept yourself. What are your needs? How do you nurture yourself? And then we have the Kazimi that is sextile. So it does bring in some, maybe I can soothe myself and heal myself feelings. There's one more square of Mars Chiron, but it'll be direct. So yeah. I mean, the full moon's the next one. It is a biggie. Strength under fire.
Yeah, I love these little fellas. Starting to like ease into my memory now of the decans and associate them the visions of the little fellas.
I love it. That is that a porcupine or a hedgehog? It looks like a porcupine, right? Hedgehog. Pokey little fellas either way.
Yeah. Fight. It's got a bit of fight there.
That's right. I mean, I do the full moon in Leo is a lot of times it can be quite enjoyable. I think Leo is a creative sign. It is the heart chakra, and it is the king, the attention, the actor and play and joy. That's all very Leo. It's the sun, So full moon in Leo, even though there's a lot to be said about the moon in Leo. But I do think with it square to Uranus, it brings in a little bit more of that something goads us into showing ourselves. And I don't know, Uranus, I call the change maker, revolution, innovation is another Uranian thing, but it's unpredictable. So the sun is not necessarily happy in Aquarius, reflecting its light back from its own home. So I always feel that's so interesting. But with the square to Uranus, it's like anything can happen. That being said, Venus rules Uranus, So Venus at 5 degrees Aries, what is it doing? It's just kind of hanging out by itself, being Venus, So there's a lot to be said, I think, about paying attention to you at this time. Venus is in a very personally identifiable sign. Leo is me and my joy and my play. So this is like, pay attention to you right now.
Because of course Venus has got this whole sign sextiles and trines.
It does.
Even though she's not exact by degree. So whatever she is fighting for in Aries, she's got that strength. It's emboldening her from the third decan there.
And it is loud. I mean, Mercury's combust, but
yeah,
I don't think it will be quiet.
No, I sort of, in my notes, I kind of write that Mercury's like being the philosopher. It's like he's still studying. He's like, bring his findings out to the world, but he's like preparing his dissertation. It's like, it's all there. It's being put together. It's just not visible to the rest of us yet from Mercury. Yeah, the fixed stars as well. The sun is conjunct the fixed star Deneb Algedi at 23 degrees 54. So it's very close. And that star, I always think of as very protective. I've got some seer and sundry Deneb Algedi, which I use for like protection or when you want something to get where it needs to. And it comes from the tail of Capricornius. So there's an element, obviously it's in a Saturn sign, but it is Saturnian. It's protecting it. Promotes the development of the mind, which is Aquarian, and the successes that can come from that. And it really wants to work well when we're aiming to make the world a better place, like doing that collective Aquarian thing. That's when Deneb will support us rather than like defensive against imaginary threats or attacking, say.
Yeah.
So it's very concerned with justice. You know, it won't help you if you're not like using right actions. And also there's a warning not to get too caught up in material matters. So there's something there with that element of what this is about is we're not fighting for material stuff for ourselves. We're more concerned with the bigger picture for people and what's going on outside of our own front door.
Yeah, and Mars has made it to its stationary degree. It only will move 51 minutes from here because it gets back to 1700. So for the next 11 days, I suppose, it will only move 51 minutes. So I think that being the case and ruling, the moon being the ruler of it, matters at this full moon. So it is just sitting there. Anyone with anything near 17 degrees of Cancer or any cardinal sign really should be on alert at any full moon when Mars is in Cancer. Let me put it that way, but especially if you have something at 17 degrees right now.
Yeah, so that's the cardinal signs: Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries. And then the moon is affecting the fixed signs. So again, like 2/3 of us.
Yeah.
Even if you've got placements, or like Mandi said, if you're Lord of the Year, is there. So the fixed signs being Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus. So if you've got that rising, if you've got your sun in there, in effect, or if you've got placements close to those degrees, that's 17 and that 24.
It's feeling like everyone is under fire with this one. I mean, the fact that Mars is trying Saturn in a mutable sign, the water signs get it, the air signs get it, so strength under fire should be everyone's motto probably for this, especially in light of any change that may come through. And Uranus does govern revolutions, and the square to the moon with Mars in its home sign, it is goaded into action, I feel like, at this full moon. So and maybe based on what your inner child wants, maybe based on what your, I don't know, even ego, and I don't mean that in the way that people say, oh, you have a big ego, but like your survival is kind of what I'm getting at. And I don't expect anything. I never expect anything bad. I watch. I don't ever expect it, but I do watch around times like these for events to happen that could surprise us. And I'm just going to hope that it surprises all of us in a good way.
Good way. Yeah, let's put that out into the world. Because, the key words here are under pressure. So that pressure building up. Before any kind of revolution, there's always pressure, isn't it? It becomes like a pressure cooker, and then there's like that one event that just lights the match and sets things, and it can be seemingly insignificant thing. And worse things could have happened before, but everybody's just ready to go. It's that daunting challenges.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Lost it. And resilient.
Yep, and resilience, yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's
important to focus on our resilience right now, and people are talking about that with Mars and Cancer anyway, that's a lot of what they're doing is focusing on building where are they resilient, because of the changes that are ahead for us. So your own resilience in your own home will help our ability to help the collective as well.
Yeah, and the Sabian symbol, which I love this, for the 24th degree, which you read the next one, is a large camel crossing a vast and forbidding desert. So the keynote is self-sufficiency in the face of an exhausting adventure. And I think that, really fits with this daunting challenges, self-reliance, things like that.
Yeah, you kind of got to look after yourself first before you can help others. It kind of feels like the tension of Leo Aquarius. It's like, Leo being a focus sometimes on self. But yeah, you've got to be strong, and then you can go out and battle and help.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this decan is double Mars ruled. And whenever there's I call it a double decan, that brings an extra focus to those martial themes, which we can see in all the keywords that Stroke Under Fire is like a battling Martian kind of statement anyway, isn't it? So that's in both the Chaldean descending order method and the triplicity method of looking at the rulership of the decans.
Yes.
This really pulls Mars into it as the ruler of. So Dave, Mars is the bound ruler as well.
Ah, wow, there you go.
So much Mars there.
Yeah, it is. Mars is being loud, as it should be at its stationary degree.
Yeah. And it's, it's great how the astrology so often just and reflects that to us. And astrologer Kira Ryberg in her book on the decans calls it defensive. So again, that's that resilience theme. And Austin Cobbett calls it the banner. So it's like, okay, I'm going to fly that banner high. So there's still that Leo pride. Like even while you're being defensive, it's like, here I am.
Yeah.
I'm loud and proud still. So it takes that theme just that little bit further. That resilience, you're not sort of hiding away. You're still defending your corner. And the tarot card is the 7 of Wands. And that symbolizes like challenge and competition and standing your ground and defending from the higher ground, like using those wands creatively as well. So this story about this little Leo hedgehog that we see is like bravely defending his position from attack. And what he's wanting us to do is to engage with our own inner warrior spirit, because we've all got that. There's something that we all want to fight for, or something that triggers us into reacting. So it's identifying that and acting with courage and determination in the face of opposition to secure our own place and protect our position. And the attacks can come from within you as well. Like we can have unhelpful thoughts that take us into a spiral and distract us from what we're trying to do. So be aware of that as well. When we're talking about that, we're not always talking about external, like physical attacks. They can come in all sorts of, and you can be your own worst enemy with self-sabotage as well. And this might be a time when you're being asked to lean into that and see if you can come up with some solutions or some ways to manage that or to seek help. But your heart and spirit are strong. You've got the resilience, and that's what this moon is showing us. That no matter what life throws at you, you've got this, you can do it. And like, look at this little spiky one and just like, be like, Dorothy, kick your heels and off you go.
Exactly.
Really nice. So, yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, just another thought on all of the Leo lunations are going to start feeling differently than they have for the last sort of 15 to 18 years, because of course they're all in opposition to Pluto. So there's something from that Pluto underworld. Pluto can bring empowerment, but usually it's by disempowering us in ways that can be very uncomfortable before we're then shown the way to empower ourselves. So in that way, about talking about the self-sabotage, that's kind of one thing that Pluto might want to work on, sort of uncomfortable thing. Pluto can bring riches as well, but are we seeking them in the right way? That lesson of Dine Bagadi, that justice. People who seek riches from the wrong source or through nefarious means. It makes me think of the Luigi and the CEO and everything as well. That the significance of the moon and the sun and moon on Dine Bagadi and the Pluto signification. It's like, there has to be justice for the collective. And then when that's out of whack, these planets will come in, these cycles will come in and ask them to be corrected. It may take some time. Pluto's got a very slow cycle, but it will get there and it will address these matters. And it may be shocking, sort of the events that transpire to bring us there, but we will get to justice. Be brave, hang in there.
That's all you can do. Grab a surfboard, especially with Uranus involved.
Don't forget that element. Of course, again, Uranus is in Taurus, so there's the steady disruption, sometimes I call it. Like, I've had things before, and then suddenly the lunation just kicks it off. But maybe you so instinctively knew what was coming.
Well, that does it for the week of the 5th through the 12th. And I suppose we will come back next week. I guess we will. For the 12th through the 19th. So yeah, this has been Asteria Kairos with your weekly update, Sonia of Celestia Astrology. You can find her at celestiaastrology.com. And I'm Mandi Ray of Ecstatic Astrology. You can find me at ecstaticastrology.com.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.